Elevated by the Cannabis Lady. Owner Jill Cohen is passionate about cannabis. Her dispensary caters to those with a refined taste and believe that cannabis can transform lives into an elevated experience when properly used. The plants with their healing benefits bring happiness while lowering anxiety, pain, and many other symptoms. Elevated by the Cannabis Lady offers a 5-star experience that starts with a friendly environment and highly trained bud tenders ready to guide every customer on their journey. Jill and her team are committed to a higher level of wellness. Check out the Cannabis Lady at 9 Highland Place, downtown Maplewood. Be sure to mention the Soma Talks podcast and get 20% off. That's 20% off. Righteous bucks. The Cannabis Lady. Check her out. And welcome to the Soma Talks podcast, sponsored by the Cannabis Lady and Coda Kitchen. I'm Lee Madeline, and once again, I am joined by the hostess with the mostest, Ileana Castillo.
Yay! I like that. Hostess of the mostest. You went gentle on me today.
I did. I went gentle on you because we have a guest in-house today, Ileana. We are joined by the former South Orange Board of Trustee, the Hebrew Hammer himself, Michael Goldberg.
Welcome, Michael.
Thank you. Thank you. What an honor to be here with the king of all media and the mistress of darkness.
I like the nicknames.
You know what? A lot of people are going to start taking that serious. Like, there goes the mistress.
So, Ileana, do you like being in a small room with two Jewish men?
I know.
This is what I think this whole podcast is about. Ileana knows I'm Jewish, and I think she's just like, he's going to introduce me to a rich Jewish guy someday. I'm convinced this podcast has nothing other to do than just that. But anyway.
Do you know any rich Jewish?
Well, Michael's married. I know, happily married.
And he has to live in a tutor. I just listened to your last episode.
I do like tutors. I really do. Do you know any rich Jewish guys?
In a tutor?
So he's about to get divorced or he's thinking about it?
Rich Jewish guys don't like tutors just for the, they like split level homes. I know that, right?
Really?
So, I guess so. I mean, right?
That's not
the split level home, I think, was
true.
designed for the Jewish man. But anyway, Michael, we really do appreciate you coming down. Really do appreciate you coming down. Now, for those unfamiliar with Michael Goldberg, again, he was on the South Orange Board of Trustees. My favorite politician of all time in the Soma area, because Mike, you were always a straight shooter. You didn't hide behind a political speak. You said what was on your mind. So,
that's true.
And you were on social media. You were never shy on social media.
Torped attacked the hell out of you, and you still stand your ground.
Back on MOL back in the day, right? That was the place to be.
What was your nickname on MOL?
It was my name. Before
Was it Michael or was it Goldberg?
It was Michael Goldberg, and before that I was Mayhew Drive, the street I live on. So not
really?
very
I
original.
don't remember that one. Michael did. I do remember.
Now, Michael, the Board of Ed elections are coming up in just a few months. It's the talk of the town.
Oh,
Ileana we were just talking before we went to air. Ileana, you were talking about...
There's so many things to talk
this
about.
Impasse, this contract impasse. Maybe, Mike, you could kind of explain a little bit of...
What's your thought about that? Yeah.
Explain it to us like we're idiots, the two of us.
Yeah.
Because we are.
I'm certainly no expert on the Board of Ed. I spent my time, 7 years, proudly on the Board of Trustees. But we dealt with a lot of similar issues, these battles between management and the union, right? Mm-hmm. I had the greatest respect for the police department and the fire department when I was on the Board of Trustees. But the games that the union would play just always irritated me. And I see the same nonsense going on with the school board. Love the teachers. Teachers work hard, dedicated to our students. But these union games about these incredible demands they're making, 7% increases is what they're asking for in this economy.
Let me ask you this, the 7% decree, because that wasn't very clear. Is it for all teachers or only the teachers that have been over 10 years in the school district?
So that's separate. That's longevity that they're asking for. So they want big increases plus a kicker for longevity.
See, that's what a lot of people are confused, and that's what me and Lee, we were talking offline, that we don't know, like, if you're asking for longevity, because, like you said, if you've been working for 10 years, you have a bump of salary. But on top of that, they want the plus 7%?
That's, again, I'm not the expert on the Board of Ed.
That's where it gets tricky.
But that's the way I understand it. They want increases for everyone. They started at 7%, and I think they went down to 6%. But on top of that, they want to add this longevity bonus. If you've been there a long time, you get this kicker. The problem we've always saw on the municipal side is that unions traditionally would use this as a tool to pad their pensions. as you got later in your career, you want to be making the most possible money because your pension payment is based on what your earnings are in your last couple years. So, a teacher may start at $40, $50, $60,000, but by the time they're retiring, they're going to make $100, $150,000. Their pension's based on that. So that's what that longevity kicker is.
But I've read on the contract that I think Somea posted, made that statement that they went down to 6%, that they were kind of compromising.
But even 6%, right? Let's be honest. You work in a school. Lee is independently wealthy. He doesn't
Man of leisure.
man of leisure. But those of us in the corporate world, a 6% raise these days, that's excessive.
When was the last time the teachers got a raise? Do we know?
Every year they get they have a 3-year contract, and there's a raise. And again, I am not the expert. I don't,
yeah. We just read what we read online.
I don't have their contract. I don't know the terms. So you may want to speak. I know you're going to be speaking to some of the Board of Ed folks in the coming weeks.
I'm sure they could get more details. Do you did you read Arun a statement? What's your thoughts about that?
Arun is one of the candidates. He's currently on the Board of Ed. And anyway, he had a statement. He's been involved in these negotiations, and he said something in response.
Yeah, I probably don't want to get involved in the politics of it because I'm sort of staying.
No, this is about the school district,
but I'm staying here out of the election. A lot of people are taking sides based on the election. I'm actually going by what the superintendent's statement was. The superintendent's letter, I thought, laid it out very clearly of what each side was, what one side was demanding, what one side was offering, and where there's an impasse. There's a big gap, right? I think the school was offering 3% or something like that.
4,
and then the union wanted 6%. That's a big gap. Again, 6% raises in the real world just don't exist anymore.
Why do you think the school district can't give them the 6 or 7?
Because because of taxes, right? Yeah. We pay the highest taxes, close to the highest taxes
Then let's make some cuts.
In the county, what are you going to cut?
Let's start with the administration, the school district. They can cut a lot of administration things.
But then,
didn't that what Ficarra did? Ficarra boned it to the end and got rid of a lot of positions. And then when the other, the one behind Bing, what was his name? Taylor, he brought back his staff, and of course more money went out.
But then when you hear they cut the head of guidance, and then there's a line around the block, of kids trying to check into school.
Why did we get rid of him?
Because there was a cut. That's the issue.
I don't think they cut him because of that.
Well, I would imagine everything has to do with money. So I mean, I think.
Well, they cut the wrong guy, but then we hire someone to pay $40,000.
Right. So I mean.
And what happened? Nothing.
Yeah, it's a pay me now or pay me later type of scenario. I think, with the teachers, but they want to be paid now. And, where's the money going to come from and who's going to get cut? And then the parents are going to say, well, why the school failing my child? I mean,
so what's going to happen now? They're going to have a mediator, and what happens if the mediator, they don't come to an agreement?
Well, I think I don't, in the municipality, it goes to mediation or arbitration, and an independent party says, okay, we're going to settle it 4 or 4.5 or 3 or whatever, come up with a number somewhere.
Can he do that?
Somewhere in the middle. I don't know enough about the school board, how that works, but on the municipal level,
the mediator...
they make a determination, and that's what the ruling is, period. Because it sounds like both parties are...
Neither one are budging.
So that's what it's going to come down to, an arbitrator in all likelihood. Okay, if we're right.
So an arbitrator could say, like, look, I'm sorry, it's going to be 5. You have to find that money, and you got to deal with 5. That's how it works, kind of.
That's generally how an arbitrator would work, right?
Yeah.
You put both parties go in and say, you decide.
Do you think this can affect the teachers start leaving the school district if it comes to that they don't agree with what they're getting paid?
Yeah, but of course the trade-off is it impacts the students, it impacts the residents and the taxpayers, right? The taxes in these towns are obscene. Nobody would argue with that statement, right?
I don't think anybody wants.
And if these taxes get even more ridiculous, it's going to be less attractive for people to move here. People aren't going to be able to sell their houses. If more cuts have to be made to the school district, it's going to impact the students. So there's negative ramifications. I understand. I empathize with the teachers, right? We all that work, except for Lee, that work for a living want to get paid as much as we can. I get it. I absolutely get it.
Yeah,
But
just for the record, I had a job. I got fired because of all the time and effort I was putting into this podcast and all the phone calls I was taking from Ileana
but now
while
your
I was at work.
sponsors, you're living high on the hog from your sponsors.
Like, hey, now, but what are you doing? I'm on the phone with Ileana again.
True.
All the time is Ileana calling and texting and emailing and
So are you
messaging Facebook.
Do you agree with? Are you kind of siding with the teachers? Or are you kind of siding with the board of eds, like Arun and Kwawi
I would
and
s-
Regina? Those three.
I think the offer that the administration made was fair in this economy, and it's unfortunate that the union. I always want to differentiate between the union and the workers. In my opinion, there's a big difference. Again, love the teachers, love the police, love the fire. I don't like.
But you know that all teachers are supporting their union. They all backing it up. They are agreeing with their union.
I guess they're in a union, but it doesn't mean every teacher is sitting there saying, "But these union negotiators know what they're talking about, or they're doing right by me."
They're all in cahoots. It seems like they are.
It seems like there's they are uniformed in standing behind the union. But as Michael's saying, the union isn't necessarily right just because, or they should be applauded because they have the backing of the teachers. I guess, right? That's kind of what we're talking about a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, again, love the teachers and empathize with them. They all have bills to pay like the rest of us.
The biggest raise they can get.
But
feel like
it's the
us
tax. I
parents
empathize with the taxpayers. As a taxpayer, right? It's disgusting what we
feel
pay
like
in
parents
taxes.
are like done with this. Like you see people commenting on all these groups, and they're like done. Like they're like.
But the issue is that they're done. But then at one point they're like, why the teachers won't do this for for instance these letters of recommendation. And I know there was an uproar because teachers apparently weren't signing letters of recommendation. But then you go ahead and you say, well, that's because the teachers don't have what they want. Give them what they want.
The teachers were told not to do it. Let's be clear about that. It wasn't because they wanted not to do it.
Of course not. Because
But that's what I'm talking about. The union games.
It was not the union. My understanding was Mr. Bing. Someone mentioned that online. That Mr. Bing kind of said.
No, he said you must do it. It's part of your job.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, superintendent said you got to sign. The union saying perhaps I can't say this for certain. I'm not in the union, but the union. My understanding. Why wouldn't the teacher do it other than they have to? This is a negotiating ploy. But so the parents upset. Give the teacher what they want, so they give my letter the recommendation letter. Why did my taxes go up from the same parent? Because you wanted that recommendation letter, so you wanted the union to settle and the school district to give them what they wanted. And there's the circle. And we were talking about this 20 years ago on Maplewood Online, and we're still talking about it today. The podcast didn't even exist when we were talking about
That's
this.
right. Taxes have been just the bane of our existence in these communities for years. I've been here coming on 26 years, and it's always been a problem.
We had Robert Northfield on last week, the real estate broker, and he basically said, he goes, the more things change, the more they stay the same, and I think he's right. So Michael, switching it up just a little bit.
No, you see. Okay, we're gonna go with that, but there's something around Bing. Mr. Bing had something to do with them not writing the letters.
All right, so Mr. Bing, if you want to call in, and is it Dr. Bing or Mr. Bing? Is it Mr. or Dr.?
I don't know. Everybody call him. Is it Mr. Bing or Dr. Bing?
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I don't
The
know.
superintendents. I mean, they're usually like doctors, aren't they? Usually like right? Dr. Ficara wasn't he?
Yeah.
A
From my
doctor?
understanding,
Dr. What was the last guy that we just
Taylor, Goldberg.
From my
yeah.
understanding about that, they said that the teachers offered to do the letters during conference period, but Bing said no. So you have that's from the teacher's point of view.
Is it me, or does every time she says Mr. Bing, it sounds like she's saying Mr. Bean? That's what I keep envisioning. Mr. Bean, like, is sitting there at the trying to settle. And you know what? We're probably better off with Mr. Bean.
So
at
we're
this
gonna
point.
say Dr. Bing or Mr. Bing?
I don't know. I'm a Bing. We'll just call him Bing.
No, Mr. Bing.
Yeah, Mr.
Superintendent.
Superintendent Bing. There we go.
Are you gonna ask Michael about about the candidates?
You know what?
Oh, candidates are important.
Do you have a horse in the race that or you do have a horse in the race? But I guess are you supporting anyone?
No, I am officially out of that.
Really?
I don't have a student in the district. My daughter graduated several years ago, so we have no students in the district.
That doesn't mean you can't vote.
I'm absolutely going to
but-
vote,
but
but
it's-
I don't
it's-
have a sign on my lawn. I explicitly told them I'm staying out of it.
It's less vital to you, but I feel the same way. Once my son was out of while he was in the school system, it was like, this is horrible, this is terrible. He graduated. I'm like, not my problem.
I know I am definitely going to vote for Jeff Bennett. That one, I'm definitely that's down. The other two, well, you heard my rant yesterday that
we read about it.
Yeah, I'm not supporting that slate. Bethany and Arun and Kwawi. I was giving them the benefit of the doubt, but after one of the candidates said something horrible about the podcast, I was just like, you know what? I'm done.
Yeah, that's a missed opportunity, right? Everyone should come and talk to you guys. It's an audience.
Don't
right?
you want to appeal to this listeners,
Yeah.
people that not necessarily agree with you, but at least they hear your perspective, and you might even change a couple of people's mind, but.
You know what? I talked to a few of the candidates too, and then I see the podcast, and they basically said, and maybe they said something different to me, but the general, we just want to run based on how you run with the lawn signs and the debates and.
Is that what they told you? Because I got another version.
In old school running for office. I mean, Michael, you ran for office. You would stand on a corner, right, and hand out your name and business card or whatnot, and tell people why and you knock on doors and the lawn sign and phone calls.
But we visited the senior building. We visited, lots of different organizations. You try to talk to as many people as you possibly can. And an audience, a forum like this where you reach a wide audience, I think it's a missed opportunity.
Well, let me ask you this. You've heard probably most of our episodes, right?
All of them. I've listened to all of them.
See, big fan.
Even the ones he didn't like, which he told me about. He goes,
now,
that
let me
podcast.
ask you this. One of the candidates said, I'm not going to mention name because it doesn't come in here or go. He said that the podcast was very hostile. Do you feel like our podcast is hostile with our guest, or me and Lee are hostile?
No, absolutely not. I love the banter between the two of you, but maybe that's the biggest hostility between you guys. But I feel the love in the air.
Well, I know that the candidates don't like Ileana and they like me, so I think that's the problem right then and there. So Lee, we would love to. I haven't said this, but I know that they're saying to each other, God, if it was Lee by himself, but I can't do this podcast by myself. I'm not capable of doing it by myself. Ileana is the engine that runs this podcast. So I just want to.
I can tell you who I think is going to win. I should put bets on that. I already have two candidates. I think it's going to be a mix. I think it's going to be Bennett, Bethany, and Brown. I think those are the top three for me.
I know Jeff Bennett.
Brown,
I don't know the other two.
It could be tricky between Brown and Kwawi. I think Brown and Kwawi might be really there, but I think Bethany and Jeff Bennett are
all the
there.
upheaval and everything going on right now. The incumbents, they could take a hit on this just for any other reason other than like we know where we are. Let's get rid of the people that are in the middle of this whole mix and start afresh. So that's a possibility.
I think they definitely have a challenge, right? There's a lot of people that are frustrated with the incumbents because of all the turmoil over the past year or two with Dr. Taylor and Sanchez and
the BA that they
right, the business administrator.
That's what I think a lot of people are angry at them, that they supported Taylor and the BA so strongly, even though we saw the fiasco they did, and they still backed them up. A lot of people didn't. I think that's going to hurt them.
Yeah, I'm disappointed Caitlin's not running again. She's been a rock star.
Caitlin, no, man, that girl went under the fire several times. Really, I love Caitlin. I would have voted for Caitlin in a heartbeat.
This shit's got to burn you out. I mean,
even Pi. I told Pi when she came here, you should run again, or even Masaki.
I do Pi, yeah. But it just seems like you're making no friends. You're just making enemies. Who likes anybody on the Board of Ed nowadays? I don't think anybody does.
Actually, they say we're hostile. The Board of Ed is hostile. That's hostile. They're hostile with each other.
It's exhausting work.
Yeah.
But you could see, if you remember in South Orange years ago, right, when I don't know, when Bill Calabrese was the village president. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of turmoil, and then certainly when Alex Torpy came, there was a lot of turmoil. But now South Orange is, very calm, right? The drama's gone. Sheena runs a tight ship. She keeps things under control. She works very collaboratively with her colleagues. So you can change things.
You're a big fan of Sheena.
I am a big fan. I think she's, I don't agree
like
with
Sheena too.
I don't agree with her on everything, but I think she's a voice. She's practical. She's pragmatic. She doesn't move it, play in all these virtue signal games. She does what the taxpayers care about.
She's doing it for the right reason because she wants to make a difference. I mean, she wants to make a difference. I think too many I'm not going to mention names, especially locally. I think that some of them go on there and it's just they just want to be they want to be popular. They want to go to events. They want to go to functions. They want to make speeches, but they don't want to do the work. I know Sheena does the work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That makes all the difference in the world, for sure. You could ask her any issue, and she could rattle off the facts and figures on everything.
And I've texted her, and I've emailed her, and she always gets back. She gets back. It might be a week later, a couple of days later, but whatever it is. And it's something, hey, we're having this, would you think you could show up? When I used to do my stand-up shows, I would invite her, and she would always get back with a reason why she didn't make it. But she would always tell me why she didn't come. But she never did come, but she would always at least tell me why she didn't come. So, and I appreciate that, Sheena. Thank you very much for that. So, for not showing up to those shows. Michael, changing the subject a little bit. Ileana, October 7th is coming up, and just it's right around the corner.
Time has flown.
It's a year. Yeah. It's a year since the tragedy in Israel when Hamas attacked Israel. Michael, no one has been louder on social media, local social media, about Israel, about Hamas.
You don't sugarcoat it.
You don't sugarcoat it. The world, anti-Semitism is through the roof worldwide, unlike I've ever seen it in my life. The universities and locally, we've had unrest locally. Are the local politicians? Are you pleased with what they have done to combat it locally? I mean,
both town, Maplewood and South Orange.
Wow.
I know. Big question.
I'm accepting of where we are, that this nonsense for a ceasefire, and I'll put that in quotes,
right,
has not gained any traction locally. So I'm glad about that.
Mm-hmm. As far as the boards on either town signing some type of declaration demanding a ceasefire,
right? Yeah. I wish they would be. They've been fairly clear. Some folks, in particular, Dean Daffis has been very good. Vic DeLuca generally has been very good on calling some of this stuff out. But then you see someone like in the national media, someone like John Fetterman, who has just been unbelievable. He just speaks as bluntly as he can that we're not going to put up with this shit, and it's just unacceptable, this anti-Semitic behavior and these demonstrations for Hamas, essentially.
The squad was loving when he couldn't speak. As soon as he got his voice back, and
I wish
they're not in love with him anymore.
I wish local elected officials would be that unequivocal, but I'll accept what they've done.
Did you hear the interview we did with the two rabbis? What were your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think again, Rabbi Cohen and I'm trying to remember from B'nai Jeshurun,
B'nai
right?
Jeshurun,
yeah,
right,
yeah.
Yes.
I don't know him I don't know much. Rabbi Cohen I know very well. Have great respect for him. I think he's great. I mean, I think he's turned a corner. At one point, he was very reluctant to make a public.
I remember a lot of people
talk
were
about this
kind
stuff
of
publicly.
annoyed
He
about
kind of
that.
wanted to, let's keep it quiet. But he saw he saw what was going on and realized you can't be quiet. You have to speak out against this stuff.
They basically said, well, I don't remember which rabbi said it, but he said he said he had just returned. And this was months ago. We had the podcast. Just returned from Israel, and he felt safer in Israel than he did here in the United States. That's from a rabbi, a respected rabbi. It's a heck of a
question.
comment.
You know that you have traveled to Israel. How many times? 3 or 4 times?
4. Yeah.
4 times. Do you feel more safer in Israel than in the United States?
So normally it wasn't even a consideration, but I was there this past March on a volunteer mission to help, right? Because obviously a lot of people that were normally doing volunteers have been since called up and are in the armed forces.
That's right. You were at the scene of the crime.
So I went and visited some of the a kibbutz that was devastated by the attack, and to see it firsthand. I went to the site of the Nova Music Festival where people were slaughtered at a music festival, and to see, and you could hear artillery shells in the background because it was Gaza is that close. Literally, it was a mile away.
Really?
So you could hear the fighting in Gaza.
Yeah.
That's how close
you
were.
But I felt...
Did you go to Gaza?
No.
Okay.
But I felt...
You wouldn't be here.
Right. But I felt incredibly safe. And I said to many people, I felt safer there. Like you'd see demonstrations of people protesting their government, but they'd be waving Israeli flags. Here you see, these protesters... You don't see a single American flag from the protesters here that are supposedly on this side. It's disgusting. Like, we're Americans.
I don't understand how anybody could sit there, and I understand ceasefire is one thing, but I don't. It's what you're asking for is you're asking for Israel. You're asking for Israel not to win this war. You're asking for Israel to back off and say, okay, we'll let you do it again to us in a few years. I can't. I don't know what any other country in the history of the world the world says, okay, enough, you've done enough, don't win it, but just you made your statement.
Right.
Hey, Japan, America, not enough. Japan's they learned that lesson. They're not, I mean.
In World War II, right? It wasn't about, okay, Hitler, will you
right, not do it again?
Right. They were defeated, right?
Yeah,
Period.
And we could get into from 2005 and the whole, when Israel pulled out of Gaza and said, you got your own government, and and what do they do? They say, okay, great, thank you. We're going to elect Hamas, and then we're going to, we're going to build down, not going to build up. I mean, the whole thing is insane. It's insane, and when you see these protesters under the bridge in South Orange, which is where they belong, not one of them could. And I know so little about international politics. I know more than all of them combined,
Absolutely. Nobody wants a war. Everybody wants a ceasefire, but the best way to have a ceasefire, release the hostages and have Hamas be defeated or surrender.
Surrender, that's it, right. You're responsible for it, then you have to surrender and go to Israel and face war crimes. You're right, exactly. That's it. But anyway, they're not going to do that.
Do you think with the elections, national elections coming up, do you think Kamala or Trump, whoever wins, will make a difference?
There's a whole other can of worms.
Yeah, that's another can of worms.
So I have been very vocal that I do not believe either of them is the right answer for this country. Yeah. I think we're in a lot of trouble. I think Kamala is a little weak, is very weak, and is playing to all sides. And Donald Trump, Donald Trump.
He's Donald Trump.
You know why I ask? Because I work in Elizabeth, and every time I drive in Elizabeth, there is a big Jewish community. Really nice houses, like even nicer than Maplewood. And they're all voting for Trump. They have flags of Trump, this and that. They have all the pictures of bring back our people and all that, and I was very surprised to see how many Jews are going for Trump.
The Orthodox community. I mean,
these are not Orthodox.
There's plenty to criticize about Donald Trump. Let's make no question about that. But he was very good for Israel. That's a fact.
He was pro-Israel. I remember that.
Moving the embassy, recognizing the Golan Heights. There were plenty of things that he did for Israel and to support them that you can't argue with that.
Why do you think then the Jewish community is so divided? Because I feel like it's 50-50. Like 50% is going to vote for Kamala and the other 50% is going to go for Trump.
I think you're right, Ileana, but historically it's been more like 80-20, right?
In favor of Democrats.
Right. Jews traditionally
Why
have
are the
been
shift
Democrats.
all of a sudden? Do they feel like the Democrats is not...
Because the Democratic Party has gone way too far left. The Hamas squad, as I like to call them.
Or how they've been dealing with the Israel situation.
Right. The AOCs of the world, the Ilhan Omars of the world, the Rashida Tlaibs of the world that have just been horrible for the Jewish community.
Yeah, it's right, because they would like to see Israel destroyed. So as a Jewish guy, I say, you want Israel destroyed, you guys suck shit. But you're in the Democratic Party. So where do I turn? Where do I, and the rest of the party, I mean, the vice presidential candidate, he's got his arm around, Omar in pictures. And so I say, as a Jewish guy, I'm like, that doesn't work for me. That's unacceptable.
I think you guys should know that this is not going to be resolved anytime soon. This is going to go a long
Well, nothing's ever going to be resolved in the history of
the
Middle East.
How do you kill, disappear, whatever, all the Hamas BS? How can you possibly do that when they're all hiding in families' houses? How do you do that?
Well, I mean,
we could have Hamas already here. Well, we know we can have a couple of them here.
You don't hear about ISIS much anymore. By and large, they were defeated, right?
Al-Qaeda
is largely defeated. The Taliban largely.
And who defeated them?
The Americans.
Yeah.
But
it's disappointing, honestly.
You defeat them by killing them, but you also defeat them by taking away their ability to produce money, to bring in money, to have money.
Do you think it's fair that it's only American people that have to deal with this, or should it be more countries involved making them disappear?
Well, Donald Trump will say, "Where's NATO?" and everybody else stepping up, of course. But
is he wrong? that anybody.
NATO is
I mean,
invaluable.
isn't that the United Nations is about?
I would
mean,
hate to see NATO dissolve.
I mean, this country's been the world's policeman for decades now. Right? It's just the way it is, right? It's the way it's, but going back to the...
Yeah, but we're not a first country anymore. We're not the best country. Like, everybody believed that China has kind of topped us a little bit.
It depends how you measure that. I mean, I think it's still the greatest country there is.
Agreed with you. Greatest country.
Yeah,
but everybody thought, like, oh, it's the country number one. But lately, there's kind of a little bit of a slight changes. I don't know.
I like their food, Chinese food. That's
That's
what I. So if I had to pick, I would say.
I mean, a lot of people say that between Japan and Russia and the Middle East, if they all team each other, not looking good for us.
Yeah, we'll be fine.
Well,
You think so?
Yeah, we'll be fine.
China, Russia, and Iran, if they were to get together, right, that would be bad. It would sort of like be an alignment like we saw in World War II. And
Who do we have? Someone was telling me, okay, if they get together, who does the United States have besides Israel and England?
Well,
Big countries.
Western Europe, right?
France hate us.
No, they don't. I mean, they don't.
France will eat their baguette and give us the middle finger. It is true.
It's a good question. When you look around, all of a sudden you say, right.
Who is our ally? Like big countries.
Well,
Japan?
Getting back to what the Middle East, Israel is a huge ally of the United States.
They are.
Everything that they do in the Middle East is to protect themselves and to protect
I
the
wouldn't
United
mess
States
around with
interests.
Israel. They might be small, but don't
You
mess
know,
around with them.
Imagine the Middle East without Israel right now.
Yeah, and then what they provide for us in return, right? Look, I mean, you're looking at your iPhone, right? Or the technology that comes out of Israel. All these lunatics that are protesting, right? They're posting on social media from their electronics, and a lot of that comes from Israel.
Technology comes from Israel.
That's true.
You know,
That's true.
I mean, and by the way, and when the enemy decides that they're going to use beepers, and all of a sudden
That's
Israel's
it.
like, we know how to
That's
infiltrate
it.
that.
I'm going to go to Israel and get me a husband.
And then they scream and yell, how could you do that? It's like, because we're at war.
That was brilliant,
Yeah.
absolutely brilliant.
I mean-
Targeting specific terrorists.
Right. Everybody who had one of those beepers was a terrorist. And, well, there were other people killed also. That's horrible. But you know what? This is a war. This is how war works. Hezbollah, stop fucking around with Israel, and Israel won't have to do this. I mean, I don't.
When
That's
everything
crazy.
cools down, I'm going to go to Israel to see if I can get myself a husband.
It's spectacular. If you haven't been, you've been, Lee?
I have not been to Israel. No, I
No,
haven't.
me
You're
neither.
too old for birthright, but you should go.
Yeah,
you should.
My mom
it's
wanted to go
spectacular.
to Israel just to go to Jerusalem because she's a Roman Catholic, and
Yeah,
Roman
sure,
Catholic.
You don't have to be
take
Jewish to appreciate it. It's
No,
spectacular. The
but,
food, the
Mom, I
people, the
remember
culture, the
she's
history.
a very hardcore, like Catholic,
Yeah,
old school
yeah.
Roman, and Jerusalem is like their
It's,
top of
it's
their-
the center
it's
of,
their god,
of the
like, who?
three major religions. You walk the streets of Jerusalem and you see Muslim people, you see Orthodox Jewish people,
Okay,
you
the
see
Catholics.
Catholic Christian people, you see secular people. It's a melting pot.
The Catholic people take very seriously Jerusalem. Like, hey, that's our thing. Like, don't mess with Jerusalem.
So, Michael, you've been to Israel 4 times and to Springsteen 100 times.
98.
98 times.
98.
Okay.
We'll get to 100 in November.
You already lined up with tickets?
Already lined up.
All right. You get 100 times he's seen Springsteen.
98.
Ileana.
Yeah,
What,
really.
Ileana, what artist have you seen the most in your life? Is there an artist that...
Oh, I've seen Morrissey from The Smith. I like Morrissey.
Oh, really?
I've seen them many times, and I still would watch them.
Oh, well, I didn't know you were a Smith fan.
I'm a Smith
Yeah, in the
fan.
Dominican Republic, the Smiths were, they were all that.
Yes, we do.
I would have figured that, I don't know, like Latina music,
Morris
like,
is the artist that I've been more in concert.
All right.
I like Morrissey. I wish they would band together The Smith, but that's not happening. So I like Morrissey.
I don't understand these bands that are like Led Zeppelin, whatever. We'll break it up and never get back together. It's like you left like $10 trillion out.
You're a deadhead, right,
I'm
Lee?
a deadhead, yes,
Yeah.
yes. I've seen the Grateful Dead. Well, back when Jerry was around, I saw him some 40 times or something. Like
Wow,
that.
with Jerry.
With Jerry,
And
yeah.
all the incarnations since?
Yeah, well, that was with just Jerry alone, and then I think back in the day when I was younger, I used to lie. I say, I've seen Jerry 150 times. All deadheads lie about how many times they actually saw.
Oh, because they're
Jerry.
stoned.
Right, exactly right. We're all, but yeah, we're all high, but I saw him 40 times, and since then, as a Rat Dog, Further. Dead and Company. I like Fish. They're a little goofy. I like Grateful Dead lyrics, and
Oh
they're
my
spiritual.
God, we got different taste of music.
Fish a little goofy for me, but I just went and saw the Dead in Vegas at the Dead and Company at the Sphere with John Mayer, and I was like John Mayer, and he blew me away. I mean,
You
Sphere is
guys are
amazing.
man. I'm like I like to hear The Cure. I like Morrison.
well, those bands are
I
from
like-
the '80s too.
Yeah.
I'm an 80s fan.
Yeah, so you're old too.
Hey, Generation X, best generation.
That's right. Yeah. So, hey, let's talk. Let's move things a little local. We'll get a little more serious for a minute, Michael. You and I I think we're butting heads a little bit this past week when there was a letter writing campaign to stop this book signing, The Fencer.
Yeah, you want to talk? Give a
It
thing
was-
for the people to know what we're talking
right,
about.
so-
This is about the GHAP teacher. Yeah.
Right. So Tamir Herman, the fencer, and her name is I can never say her first name correctly.
Ibtihaj.
Ibtihaj. Yes, Muhammad had using her platform, which she's a celebrity and she's got hundreds of thousands
big.
of followers or whatever it is. She had jumped to the conclusion that this Jewish teacher had in fact removed the hijab from the student, which I think we can all debunk at this point.
I don't know if we can debunk, but there's two sides of the story. Let's put it that way.
But there was a lot of controversy on site. The book signing was eventually canceled. She was upset. She followed up with a comment about the Zionists canceled her podcast. So, let's talk about the Tamir Herman. What's your thoughts on this whole thing? And do you know where it stands? Are you friendly with Tamir Herman? I mean, is anything?
Yeah, so let's provide just a little bit more context for people that don't know. So back in, I believe, October of, I think it was 2021, there was an accusation put out by a mother that a teacher had ripped her daughter's hijab off. And then this was immediately picked up by Ibtihaj Muhammad, who posted it to her 300,000 Facebook and Instagram followers. You'd pulled it up the other day.
I did. I put it.
I don't remember the exact language, but it was essentially just accusing this woman of ripping off a student's hijab. And all of a sudden, people started saying, "Where does she live? What's her address? Oh, she's Jewish. Oh, let's go get some money." It just became this virtual, lynch mob, and I'll put that.
You want me to read it
quotes.
to you exactly what she said on her Instagram?
Yeah.
She said, yesterday, Tamar Hernan, a teacher at Seth Boyden Elementary in Maplewood, New Jersey, forcibly removed the jihad of a second grade student. The young student resisted by trying to hold on onto her hijab, but the teacher pulled the hijab off, exposing her hair to the class. Hernan told the student that her hair was beautiful and she did not have to wear a hijab to school anymore. Imagine being the child and stripped off your clothes and in front of your classmate. Imagine the humiliation and trauma this experience has caused her. This abuse. School should be a haven for all of our kids to feel safe, welcome, and protected, no matter their faith. We cannot move forward in post-racial America until we weed out the racism.
Yes.
That's what she said.
Those are the exact words. Correct.
Yeah.
And so that caused this whole firestorm in the community. A local rabbi jumped on the bandwagon. The governor jumped on the bandwagon.
In support of the student.
The student.
Not knowing the full story.
And correct. Yeah. As time went on, Essex County investigated it. They found there was no evidence to charge anyone with a crime, so that was dropped. There were various lawsuits. The teacher was put on administrative leave, and I believe
right away.
And while the school did an investigation, it's my understanding she's still on leave, and it's been 3 years now. It was really outrageous. And again, more and more facts came out. As you said, the whole thing has basically been debunked. It was a misunderstanding.
It was a misunderstanding.
A misunderstanding. The hijab was not ripped off her head.
Do you think the school district didn't handle this very well? Has some fault here?
Sure, absolutely.
I feel like a lot of people feel like the school district didn't have her back.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that this has taken this long and the teacher's not been reinstated, to my knowledge, is insane. The fact that the mother of this child sued the school district and got a payoff of, I believe, $300,000 or thereabouts. Was just outrageous. So anyway, fast forward back to Lee's question. Last week, the Village Green had promoted that this fencer was promoting her book in town. And myself and a number of other
At
people
a local church.
at the New Jersey Fencing Alliance office, which is housed in a local church.
Oh, okay.
In Maplewood.
In Maplewood.
Okay, good.
Thought this is outrageous. So a number of us started to write letters to the Fencing Alliance, to the church.
Did you guys email to the town as well?
Yeah, the Maplewood elected officials were brought in on it as well. And there's enough Facebook groups and WhatsApp groups that people use to communicate issues of anti-Semitism or concerns to the Jewish community, or just concerns in general, that it went viral. And then I guess because of this campaign, the event was canceled or postponed, as they officially announced it. So bravo to the New Jersey Fencing Alliance and or the church that was hosting them for realizing we don't want this controversial person. We don't want this controversy in our building. And, you know, it's America. She has her right to speech, but we're not going to host it. So kudos to them.
Do we know how many letters were it's hard to
This
say.
is-
Obviously, it was enough that it got
They
everybody's
realized.
attention.
They
Do you know
realized.
what
they
was
don't
her
want-
response to that when she
Well,
found out?
correct.
I have it here. She said, Zionists had the first event of my book tour canceled due to accusations.
Zionists. Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
Had the first event of my book tour canceled due to accusations of being anti-Semitic. They tried it. Found a new venue, and we're back on track. It's important that you all be made aware of the discriminatory attacks that Muslims like me are facing in today's climate. Islamophobia is real. See you on tour. Please share.
And let me be really clear about that. First of all, the term Zionist is a term for someone who supports Israel and acknowledges Israel's right to self-determination, period, right? President Biden says he's a Zionist. You don't have to be Jewish to be a Zionist. But for her to make that statement that Zionists had her canceled, this had nothing to do with Israel. This had nothing to do with Islam or Islamophobia. No, we didn't ask her for her to be canceled because she's Muslim. Absolutely,
That had nothing
absolutely
to
not.
do with
It had
them.
to do with the way she treated Tamar Herman and what she's done to this community, ripped the community apart because of that controversy. In my opinion, she's not welcome here, and I commend the people that canceled her event.
You know what surprises me?
That she didn't apologize.
That's what I was going to say.
Apologize, this whole
you
thing
know
goes
what?
away.
Maybe I
That's
jumped
right.
the shark too much. Let me investigate more. Let me apologize. Say, look,
Sure.
maybe I
But-
jumped. I should have waited until
But
everything.
she doubled down, and Zionist has become code for Jews, right? So she blamed the Jews, number one, and then that got made viral. People were outraged that was her comment. So she did edit her post, and she changed it to Islamophobes had her event canceled. Again, not Islamophobes. Nobody's afraid or fears or against Islam.
Right, absolutely not. This has nothing to do with bigotry on anyone's part, but sounds like maybe hers. And I think this any C celebrity, B celebrity, whatever you are, I don't know what she is. I know she has a Barbie doll after her, and so maybe she's big, a bigger celebrity than I'm giving her credit for. But this should be every celebrity becomes famous. The first thing they notice, this should be textbook. Here's what you can do on social media, and here's what you can't do. This is Miss Muhammad. This is exactly what. Miss New Celebrity, Mr. New Celebrity, don't ever do this because this is not how you're going to build
She
up.
ruined a woman's life.
Ruined
there were death threats.
Did you
for
read
this
the comments?
teacher.
Let me read you some of the comments because I think really people don't think how much hate.
You're talking about the
Mr.
comments
Tamar-
under her.
under her thing
I
for
read them.
Tamar.
They were. They're very supportive of her and in her belief that that Zionists need to be taught a lesson. That's
Well,
what it
although to
sounded
be
like me.
clear, I know of people that have posted comments and she doesn't agree with them. She deletes
deletes
them,
them.
Oh, of
and blocks
course.
them. So the only comments you'll see will be supportive of her.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm not even going to
Yeah,
read
let's
it
not
because
even- yeah.
it's really
Let's
nasty.
not even entertain
and
these-
someone
yeah.
posted even her address, which I think she had to move,
Yeah,
didn't she?
she
or
had to go into
something like that?
hiding. She had death threats against
This
her.
is a terrible
But
situation.
you know
It's
they have
horrible.
there's
But-
an ongoing battle right now. She is suing her, I believe.
For defamation.
Yeah, this is
Hey.
Tamir Herman is in lawsuit with
With her, and I think it's a school district too.
Yeah, I mean, I know that Rocio Lopez, because we asked her about it. She's a school board teachers.
She didn't know
Teachers
much.
No, she just said it was in the hands of the lawyers at this point,
Yeah,
which means the
the
union no longer even knows what's going on.
Right, which is unfortunate, right? That's again, the union can fight for the teachers for their pay. They should also fight to have their back. And I didn't get the sense the union really had Tamar Herman's back.
Nah, it seemed like the whole community, and I hate to pick on this community. I love you, but yeah, I don't. I think this woman was just left like flapping in the wind. Nobody put their arm around her. There's a story I read about, or maybe it's in a movie. But Jackie Robinson went to play in Cincinnati with Pee Wee. A game that was in Cincinnati. Pee Wee Reese was from around the corner in Kentucky. He was a second baseman. He was a shortstop. Jackie Robinson was a second baseman, and so they were all booing Jackie Robinson and they were screaming insults at him. And Pee Wee Reese put his arm around him. And that was like the first time. That was a huge because it was his way of saying, "This is my teammate. This is my." I don't feel Tamar Herman's ever gotten that from this community. No one's put their arm around her and said, "Hey, you're one of us. You're with us."
I was going to say that the hypocrisy of the school district. You know how many teachers I've seen people go above and beyond to defend their teachers, and Tamal didn't get that treatment. Not at all.
But so anyway, you guys, we're going to take just a short break. We have a sponsor that wants to get you to buy product from them, so we'll be back in just a moment. Coda Kitchen in the heart of Maplewood Village, but with a city vibe. Come check out Coda for great food and great company. Luke Finn and his team love presenting their customers with inspired and creative dishes using as many locally sorted organic produce as possible. At the bar, you'll find assortments of craft draft beers and classic original cocktails. Lovely wines, too. And we're back here at the Soma Talks podcast. Lena Allen, Ileana Castillo, and Michael Goldberg. So,
gossip time.
Yeah, so gossip time. That's right. We're going to move away from all this fun stuff we've been talking about, Board of Ed and Hamas and all this lawsuits. And Ileana's favorite question to ask anybody who comes in here is on Soma Talks, which, by the way, she is the president, the CEO of Soma Talks. We all know that.
Doesn't have to be Soma Talk. Could be any other group. Who's your favorite?
Who's your favorite poster? Who do you look? Wow, this guy's saying something. I got to read it.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to see what they have to say.
Mine is Michael Goldberg, by the way.
Too kind. First of all, I love Soma Talks, and Ileana, I think you've done a great job.
Thank you.
I'm like many people, a refugee from Soma Lounge. That other
refugee too.
That other group that kicked people out for no reason.
You and I got kicked out at the same time.
Yeah, for the most ridiculous reason.
I remember you and I were like, "Did we just got booted out?"
I've been doing the online thing for years. Well before I lived here, right? Maplewood Online, of course. Even before that, remember Prodigy or AOL or CompuServe even. Like these online. I've been doing this.
Stop it. You're giving our age out.
I've been doing this stuff for years. And for me, it's fun, but it's also, we used to do those in real life meetups from MOL, right? We'd meet people in person. And that's, I think, how we all met, maybe, but you get to meet people in the community, and people just take this stuff way too seriously.
I know.
And Soma Talks for me, it's an outlet. You're on a conference call that is running a little long or boring. You check what's going on, or you're seeing on a plane or whatever. It's a way to just break up the day.
All the bad kids. We're all the bad kids in one group.
And Maplewood Online used to fill that void. It's just a way to just let off some steam, to gossip, to find out what's really going on. And you do a great job of letting it be light and fun and all that without being.
It's not easy.
But yet it's informative too, right? If you really read the stuff. Anyway, to your question. I mean, I think some of the classics. John Sarantakis.
He's a classic.
Absolutely.
He's a classic.
Absolutely love John.
I agree with you. That's a classic
and
one.
I met John in person. He's a sweetheart of a guy. He's the nicest guy imaginable.
Still haven't met him. Believe it?
You haven't met him?
Such a good guy.
He's one of my best friends. I love John.
But he just says it like it is. He's very blunt.
Oh, yeah, he does the sugarcoat.
Did you know he was gay?
I did.
I had no idea he was gay until
not that matters.
No, not that it matters, but I was just I was stunned because to me it was he really is. He's the gay Archie Bunker.
I hope he's out. But otherwise, you just outed him.
No, it's okay. He knows. He's fine with
and I love gay people. I'm friends with tons of gay people. And John, when I meet you, you'll be another one of my fun gay friends. So anyway,
but he's also.
But I just because he's really he's not a progressive guy.
No, he's very centrist.
He's very centrist.
He calls it like it is. He calls it the bullshit on both sides, and I absolutely love and respect that. Another one, I know you've mentioned her before, Jennifer Crone.
Oof, my
Jennifer
God.
Crone.
Love Jennifer.
Oh, my God.
Again, doesn't
That woman is one of the smartest women I've seen
Now,
online.
did you know she's gay?
No,
no,
stop
she's
it.
not.
I'm joking,
no.
Jennifer.
Stop.
I'm joking.
Jennifer Chrome, you ask her a question, and man, does she gives
yeah,
you.
no, it's a bright woman.
But
Bright
but
woman.
facts and again, not political bullshit. So there are too many people that just toe the party line. That no matter what it is, it's got to be my team says this, my team says that. Whereas
What was that story you said about Jennifer Chrome that someone said I'll show you facts? What
Oh
was
my
that?
God, Jennifer
I
Crow!
love
Yes,
that
somebody wrote like something like that's a fact, and when Jennifer Crow's like that's not a fact, this is a fact. It was like 25 paragraphs later. That's a fact.
She's
Got-
like that.
got to give a shout out to Madhu. Love Madhu
Madhu
Pie.
Pie.
Manu has calmed down a little bit. She used to be more involved.
but
But
Madhu-
I know she had some time off or whatever between jobs or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But now she's very very busy.
But Madhu, like myself, when she was on the board of ed, when I was on the board of trustees, you had to be a little bit more diplomatic in your online persona. Once you're off the board, you're just
it's all
you could really be
all the cards are in the
you could say that say it like it is, and I
Did you
respect
feel like that when you were on the board that because you
have
had
to
to
restrain
kind of bite
yourself?
your lip a little bit?
It was a different world. I was on from 2007 to 2013. So Facebook was just kind of coming in. Facebook
Yeah.
existed, but the groups weren't such a big thing. It was
No,
still,
they
it was still
weren't.
MOL.
That's true.
And it just wasn't as in your face as it is now.
I used to love the. I would watch the South Orange Board of Trustee meetings when Alex Torpey was the mayor.
That was fun
Village
to watch.
president, because the people would just come in and scream at him, like people, when they would have a chance to go up with the public general, and he would say stuff, and Torpey would respond, he'd say stuff, and it'd be silence, and then and you could see you in the background just kind of a little smirk, and almost was like, waiting for that wah wah sound, after he would announce that you're gonna have Bitcoin or whatever it was, but
Yeah, we did not get along, not at all.
I mean, he was a kid. He wasn't
What
an
was he,
adult yet.
22, 23,
Yeah.
something like that?
When I first served on the board, it was with Doug Newman as village president. And Doug
Oh,
is
right.
the absolute smartest guy you will ever meet. The highest integrity, like everything is factual. Doug just finished chairing the Water Commission committee about selling the water
Right now,
system.
he's involved with that right now.
He was very
Yeah.
involved. And if Doug weighs in on something, he's going to dot his I's, cross his T's. Very, very factual, very disciplined guy. And then Torpey comes in, and it was like...
So he's a village. So you got a mature, focused guy, knows all the issues, a village president, and a kid basically on a lark runs and becomes village president, and actually rather than just handle it like a lark, tried to actually implement some silly ideas.
like he was going to build the website on some proprietary platform.
Oh, I remember
It took
that.
like 3 years, and it never got done.
Hey, let's go back to the gossip. I like the gossip. Outside
Wait,
of
wait. So I have a good one. So I actually
really?
just heard this. Speaking of Torpey, so he doesn't live here anymore. He was city manager up in New Hampshire, and I literally just saw in the news. It's a news public information that he was entered into a severance agreement with his latest employer. So
separate agreement.
yeah,
Oh.
So they loved him too.
I'm just saying.
You know what? Yeah, I felt bad for him. He was a kid, but you know what? He's not a kid anymore. So
No, he's not. He gotta be in his
if the
30s.
arrogance that he displayed, as a young guy, is still at play. That's why he's gonna struggle in these type of positions, I guess. But I'm just
I was gonna
sorry.
ask him. Besides Summit Talk, is there any other poster that, like in Soma Cares or Lounge or whatever? Well, you're not in Lounge anymore. Is there any posters that you really like that when you read it, you're like, he's up to something, or her?
You know who I like? You know who I like, by the way? And I haven't mentioned him yet, and I've never met the guy, but he's always posting on Soma Talks. Chung Shing Wang.
Yes,
Yeah,
he's a good
I don't
one.
know him in person, but
No,
I
no,
agree.
no.
Don't know
I
him,
agree.
but yeah, every time the guy writes something, it's
Yeah,
like,
he's good.
Yeah, and Chung Shing Wang. So, and he seems like a bit of a conservative guy, but
Is he?
I'm not sure, but I don't know. He's
I
someone-
like Jason Sippy. I mentioned him before, but Jason Sippy is pretty spot on.
Yeah,
sometimes.
don't know him either in person, but he
Yeah.
also doesn't play the partisan game. Like he'll attack.
No.
He'll
He doesn't sugarcoat
Yeah.
too. But we got to go with the classic, John Santaki.
Oh, it doesn't get it.
Talk is, and is it
You
besides,
didn't you say that you like Stephanie? Stephanie.
Somebody Gomez?
Gomez.
Yeah, Gomez.
You know, we got a profile picture. Very attractive woman, too, Stephanie Gomez, by the way. Yeah, so
Making me jealous.
Yeah, that's right.
Jessica Otieno.
No, that's Jessica Tiano. Yeah.
Jessica,
Oh, yeah.
that's another attractive woman. In Soma Talks, I think Ileana, to be on Soma Talks, you have to be an attractive woman, right? That's the,
No, I don't know about that.
Yeah, no. Because I haven't seen an ugly one yet. So shout out to all you ladies. Yes, I'm a misogynist. Proud misogynist, but any case, is there other than Paul J. Hale? Is anybody we dislike?
You know who's really good posting? Anthony Misaki. He's really good at posting too. But I know he's all about the Board of Ed. But when he types really good. Like
There were a couple of people that had a block recently because it was just the party line. They could not see.
Party line drives me nuts too.
It was like, well, this is what the party says, and you have to vote for this person because of the party. Like, no, you vote for the candidate, not the party.
exactly.
Right, or you just fall back on the same old arguments that we've been having forever and ever, and and they come out like this is they're the first one to ever think in these ways, or they try to pit it. You're not one of us or whatever. That shit drives me nuts. We've all been here for 30 years, 40 years in this progressive community. We love living amongst each other. I mean, don't accuse people being this or that.
Or Neil Master. I've never met the guy, but he is.
Neil?
He loves to.
He's right?
He likes to be provocative. He tries to.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wonder, is that genuinely who he is, or is he just trying to trying to stir the pot? Like he's having this. He turned the whole discussion about the fencer and her event into free speech absolutism.
I think he likes to play the devil's advocate.
Yes.
That's Neil. He likes to play the devil's advocate, which is fine. I welcome the people playing the devil's advocate to see how they're going to twist it. And, it makes you think. But he's a tricky one. I like him. I really do. Neil.
Yeah. And by the way, Ann Marzano Bauer, love you too. So,
yeah.
We're talking about attractive women on Summer Talks.
That's true. And such a lady. How about Traska? You both are big fans of Christopher Traska.
Very attractive man, by the way, Chris Traska.
Is he?
Have you ever seen him?
I haven't seen him in a while.
The way he dresses with he must.
Oh yeah.
That $5,000 shoes, $10,000.
Oh, someone told me to ask you this. Why have you been liking comments from the people from Soma Justice? Someone told me to ask him that.
I am not.
I saw it. I was like, whoa.
I am not a fan of that group. It's unfortunate that, again, the impasse with the school board has turned into political lines, right?
It has.
Like, love Madhu dearly, but suddenly she's backing the union, and then the Soma Justice people are backing
the Board of Ed.
The Board of Ed. Like, it's bizarre.
Right. So at the end of the world, at the end of the day, you got to say, this is who I support. If I'm in agreement, look.
I'm sure those people, when they saw you like their post, they're like, what the F? Like, did he just really like their post? Like, what? Well, then they were like, he probably liked it by mistake. That can't be.
No, I will like somebody's post if I like what they say.
I agree with you. You know what? This is actually, by the way, a shout out to another Summer Talks poster, Joan Crystal. Okay, you all know Joan Crystal, right?
Long time
woman.
I saw her the other day, actually.
Yeah. So Joan said this years and years ago to me, and actually, it's still. She said, she's like, I try not to go from, if I had a fight with you on this thread. If we're talking another thread, not to bring that fight to the next thread or to the next subject or to the next argument or whatnot. Right. And I think that's basically
like
what
you brought up Traska. I love Chris Traska. I mean, I've socialized with him and spoken to him many times. I disagree. Like, he's just been a lackey for the union over the past week. Love you, Chris, really, but I don't know what are you doing? Again, if it's politics, if it's because he's against Arun and Kwawi, okay, fine. But say that.
I dislike what someone came after him and saying, like, why are you commenting when you don't even have kids in the school district? That was a little low.
To Traska, they said that?
Yeah,
well, he had. Because he's been on top of this thing for 20-something years.
Well, he's the only one that really is giving us a little bit of what's really going on.
He actually ran. He lost. Haha. But
so did both of you.
That's true.
Yeah, I lost too.
That's true. So you ran once or twice?
Twice.
And you're 2-0. You're 2-0. He's 2-0. So
that's right, but I'm done. I'm done. Don't even.
Wouldn't you like to run for a board of ed? Or you're like, I wouldn't touch that.
I was asked several times right after I was off the board of trustees, and that was never my thing. Like, their whole discussion of, you ever watch talk about pedagogy. What is that word?
Come on, Mike.
think-
I think you would be good at the
no,
Board of Ed. You
not
would.
at all. Not at all.
No.
I don't,
Really?
It's not my wheelhouse. No.
You know why I don't run? Because I would be fighting with a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like, it would be like, if everybody want to see drama, turn it on. Because if
'Cause
Ileana's
imagine-
there, I would go after them. I can't keep my mouth shut.
No, that's true. You can't.
That's true. That's true.
No, Michael be like at a Springsteen concert, be getting text messages about like board issues. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
exactly.
Priorities. Got to get your priorities straight.
Bruce, hold up a second.
I would make a lot of enemies. I'd rather not. No.
Yeah, and thank God Bruce Springsteen, Michael never he never said anything about the Middle East. So I'm just.
I was a little nervous. I almost wish he would have. I was saying if he would just book a date in Tel Aviv, that would send a strong message.
Yeah.
But obviously,
he's not.
that's not
going to
happen
because
anytime soon.
he's a bright guy.
I
and,
hate to ask it. Is he?
No,
Oh, okay.
no,
Springsteen's not Jewish.
no. But his drummer,
Oh, really? That's why I said it quiet.
Max Weinberg
Columbia
is-
High School graduate.
Roy Bittan,
Who?
his pianist,
Yeah,
is
Max Weinberg, Springsteen's drummer is.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
South Orange. Grew up here in South Orange and went to Columbia High School.
Weinberg. Yeah. And
Had his bar mitzvah at Sherry Tefillo.
yeah. How do you like that? And
How you like that?
Hey,
Yeah.
is he single? Because Ileana.
Oh
is,
my
He is not,
God.
yeah.
Oh, okay, so I guess that's about it. We're gonna have to wrap things up because
Ah, man, that
Michael,
was-
this was a great time.
I wanted more
Yeah.
gossip.
Yeah.
There's always gossip.
Who-
When it
what-
comes to Maplewood, South Orange, there's always something
Well, we
going
have
on.
to figure out, the next South Orange Board of Trustees election coming up. It's supposed to be in May, but they're
right.
talking about extending their term to have no. Well, let me say it again. They're talking about moving municipal elections to November,
Which would make it more sense.
which would
Yeah.
extend the current.
Do you agree with that?
the current term to November? I have mixed feelings on it, honestly. I was always afraid that it would sort of get lost in the conversation. Like the beauty of a May election is that's the only thing you're talking about in May.
But if you go to November, you got to talk about different things. Yeah.
The good news is it's odd years, so it'll never conflict with the presidential race or the Senate race or even the congressional races.
Oh, it's an
But
odd
it will conflict with the governor's race. So like the year a governor is running is the same year there'll be a Board of Trustees election. So I could argue it, but the only thing that's given me some satisfaction that it shouldn't be a problem is the school board did it, right? The school board used to be in April. They moved to November. And it really hasn't become partisan, so to speak. I mean, it's always been the divisions on the school board, but it hasn't become Democrat versus Republican, right? That type of thing. But anyway, point being, there's supposed to be an election in May. So the terms of Bill Haskins, Bobby Brown, and Karen Hilton, I believe, the three of them, their terms are coming up. So it'll be interesting to see who.
Oh, 3 chairs open. Do we think they're gonna?
I don't have any.
We don't.
I
It's too
don't.
early, right?
It's
To see if they're
it's
gonna-
September. I would say by the end of the year, people will start sharing their
Sort of pay attention.
intentions.
Yeah.
So there's that to look forward to. And then, of course, in Maplewood, there's that big contested November election of Malia versus nobody.
Right, yes. But any
So-
Republicans out there want to run against
So
Ileana
I'm-
It's too late for the Republicans.
I guess it is too late.
Absolutely thrilled that Malia won the primary.
Yeah.
She's
You know what?
fantastic.
Everything by the way, we gave her a little bit of a hard time when she was running. But you know what? Everything
What
I've
hard
read
time did we
about her,
give her?
She wouldn't come on the podcast. This and that. Dean was covering for a bit. But
I have my
everything I've read about
reservations.
her, what she writes, she's
I have my
eloquent and she's smart
reservations.
and she's focused.
She's
and
authentic.
She's authentic and she's
She threw me under the bus.
And I
I'm not
apologize,
happy
Malia,
about
for calling
that.
you Malia Herman Munster. I apologize for that. So.
Her husband's a lovely guy.
Is he? Okay, yeah. Okay.
Well, I'm glad you like her because I have my reservation. She threw me under the bus.
Well, considering who she was running against, be happy.
She threw me under the bus in front of you know who.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a disagreement.
How can I forgive her that?
Yeah, you know what? It's I think one of these things where like, why can't everybody get along? It's probably what her thinking was. So. But anyway, that's tune in next time to the Summer Talks podcast where we will learn exactly what happened to Ileana and Malia Herman. So until then, everybody.
Yeah.
Michael, thanks for coming in.
Thank
and
you, Michael, so much.
Thank you, guys. This was so much fun.
We'll do it again soon. Good night, everybody.
The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed are the speaker's own and do not represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of the Summer Talk podcast. The material and information presented here is for general information purposes only. The Summer Talk podcast name in all forms and abbreviations are the property of its owner, and its use does not imply endorsement of or opposition to any specific organization, product, or service.